Henshin Inspection presents Writer Tears, What Unites Us. This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Find all my work at mjmunoz.com. I will be discussing The Weak, the Strong, and the Secrets of Black Sun, Episode 2. Kamen Rider Black Sun, Episode 2 originally aired October 27, 2022, along with its brother episodes, and it was written by Izumi Takahashi, and the director is Kazuya Shiraishi. Starting off with the week, I have one big complaint, one large weak spot for this episode, and that's it, because honestly, the rest of it was all pretty darn good, so here it is. Honestly, this is my second time watching this episode, and I watched it at 1.3 speed and had no issues comprehending it. I guess the slower pace and the scenes with more room to breathe are good for setting mood and tone, but this is like a mashup between a superhero story, a dystopian future, and a cultural critique against the current political regime. I'm not sure being ponderous is the winning formula to make this thing resonate with people. The only merit, maybe, to these slower scenes is that it gives you more time to focus on these characters and connect with them. But, I mean, I'm talking about scenes where there's nobody talking, Nobuhiko's cutting his hair or shaving, or, Kotaro's just like sitting there, not having an interaction with somebody. Like, him reaching out to Aoi to put his arm on her, or to put his hand on her back, to try to comfort her when she's mourning, and also him standing with her in front of the cityscape. Alright, I don't know how to recover from that interruption, that phone call, yeah. I'm not going to recover from it. I'm just saying, I think it's a weak point, because I think you could, basically my point is that I think you could either put more content into each episode, or you could have more character work in each episode through dialogue, instead of just having the camera stare at sad people being sad. I'm not even asking for more Kamen Rider fights. You hear that, okay? Yes, I enjoy the Henshin hero shows because I like the fights, but I also love all the emotional stuff in Kamen Rider, and how, serious it can be, or how, real it can be through these fantastical things. And I do like that stuff, but I don't know, maybe I've been spoiled because I've been watching Kamen Rider for the last, 11 years, maybe coming on 12 years now, and, very consistently, over the last 11 or 12 years, I've been watching Kamen Rider, almost every week, and, maybe that's kind of spoiled me for more slow-paced, dramatic storytelling, but, if you want to make that movie, I don't know that you should make, or that show, I don't know that you should make that Kamen Rider Black Sun. It should be something else instead. So, yeah, I don't really know what to say to that. Anyway, moving on from the weak stuff onto the strong. Seeing that Kotaro and Nobuhiko were kind of the double writers back in 1972 when Gorgom became a thing is kind of fascinating. I like that revisionist history callback to the roots of Kamen Rider. I think it's really neat. And another thing is the blend of the old Toku concepts like power levels and Amenone, that's her name. Amenoni's Shenshin Barrier with this show's grounded aesthetic are really cool. That zoom in on the particles when she mentioned that she had created a Shenshin Barrier, and Kotaro squinted and you could see all these particles that were in the air, and they were obviously CG. I mean, not that it was bad, but they were obviously CG, and the camera shifted depth of focus or whatever. Whether they did that with the actual camera or they did it digitally after the fact, I don't really care. But you got from what she said, how he reacted, what he did with his face, and what they showed on the camera, that he was taking in new information. He reacted to it willfully, and then he saw all the spores or whatever she'd put in the air as well. They had some practical set design of the flowers, the roses, stuck in a couple different places. They look like roses. They were roses, right? Anyway, stuck in a couple different places, and you could see, she used those to generate the barrier so he couldn't transform. How is it that the pollen or whatever makes it so that he can't transform? I don't know. You got to get all the way off my back about that if you don't want him to be able to transform, so Nobuhiko can come in and do something cool. But that's okay. It's okay to do silly stuff like that, and I don't know. Do I want to see more of that? Is that why I'm bothered by like the ponderous stuff? Because while I thought that scene looked and felt a little pedestrian, like confined in that house, it was, I don't know, it was almost kind of cool in a way, because it was kind of scary, because it's like, this is a home, and this home is now the, location of a, kaiju, I'm going to say, a kaiju Mexican standoff, and it's just not going to work. So, anyway, yeah, that was really interesting. So I thought there was well, anyway, you already heard me. I'm done talking about it. My notes read differently because I went off the top of my head in the middle of that. Anyway, Shinosuke is like a power indicator. He tells the audience that there is a Kaijin hierarchy of some sort, and based on what we've seen, it's probably the case that Kaijin hierarchy is expressed by how they transform. So I would assume, yeah, it looks like if you're a Kaijin who transforms under your clothes, it looks to me like you're more of a basic level Kaijin. The next level up, perhaps, is the Kaijin whose transformation takes place over their clothing, like Amenami, whatever the flower lady is called, and the Hopper brothers, Black Sun and Shadow Moon. I think that's all we've seen transform like that. Even the Mad Monkey at the auction, he was a lower level Kaijin who transforms under his clothes. And I'm being positive now. So I like it for a couple reasons. One, that makes it easier for them to do costumes, which I think I talked about in my episode 1 analysis of Black Sun. Two, it makes it clear that there's like a caste system, and it indicates that there is a power level difference between Kaijin. And well, anyway, I'll be curious to see how that develops. And I don't know if there's a third reason for it that I like it or not, but it's just kind of interesting to think that there are like hard and fast power levels or different classes of Kaijin that transform differently, maybe have access to different types of powers, or are, I was going to say better or worse than each other, but that's not really that's not how I want to talk based on this show. And it's talking about equality of Kaijin rights and whatever. But just because there's like innate differences in beings based on like an accident of birth, be it talent or disability or just an extreme like talent or strength to do something. Like, I'm short, I'll never be as capable as some taller guys are at certain things, and I have or they have natural advantages over me, but I'm not going to go around sawing off people's legs so that I can be equal with them. Like that's not how it works, and that's not how it should be. There are just naturally differences between people, natural hierarchies form, and that's okay. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I just think it's interesting. And I wonder if like the Creation King is a third level of Kaijin over the rest of them, and what that looks like. If he's always stuck in that form, does he transform? I don't know. Anyway, good thing that the show's raising all these questions for me to want to stick around and find out. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. So the quick and brutal attack by Shadow Moon was intense, and yeah, it's kind of delightful. Sorry, it just is, and I won't say anything more. If you've seen it, you've seen it, but I don't want to spell out why I liked it so much or why I thought it was so cool. It's definitely different from what most Kamen writers do. So yeah, that's interesting in and of itself. Next positive thing or good thing, or next strong thing, really. It's not good or bad. It's how strong is it on a storytelling level, and how much of an impact does it make on me as an audience member. Dounami and the Gorgom Party are both clearly bad, and I think that's beautiful. I've seen some online discourse about the show, especially like from some socialists. Sorry, socialists, I disagree with you. I think you guys are wrong. I think there's tons of information or data to back up that you're clearly wrong, and that it ain't gonna work, and it will only lead to more suffering and pain, and like people being dehumanized and people cannibalizing each other like Gorgom does with the Kaijin. Anyway, we can discuss that later if you want to. I'd be happy to have like a civil conversation, but I'm gonna be, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. But if you're new to me, I think I'm a very even-keeled, very even-tempered, very intellectually honest, fair person when it comes to debating or discussing things, because I want to build understanding and build bridges between people, not separate myself from other people and stand on the island or the mountain of I was right and you were wrong. So anyway, that doesn't do it for me. Anyway, last thing that was really good, or that was strong, is that Aoi telling Shinosuke it's the bad ones who are bad is the reason she is still fighting for Kaijin rights even after Spider tried to murder her is great. It's beautiful. It's powerful. That's a real heroic thing, and I absolutely adore it. So, wonderful. Wonderful. Subarashi even, you could call it, if you really wanted to. So, moving on to the secrets. So, is 2022 Dounami the grandson who was kidnapped by Gorgom? I've already watched the next episode, and it's unclear, but it wouldn't surprise me. Let's put it that way. Next, when did Gorgom sign off on using, abusing, and cannibalizing their fellow Kaijin? Because in 1972, they sure don't seem to be up for that sort of thing, at least not from what we've seen so far. And yeah, I'm curious how it gets so bad. Like, I cannot picture Oliver Johnston or Johnson, whatever, Johnstone. Well, I don't know. Oliver Johnson going along with the current Gorgom Party and Bishi and Dara and Bara or Brigania supporting what they're doing. Like, he wouldn't do that. Like, so, oh man, oh no. We're going to see them murder Oliver Johnson, aren't we? They're going to kill that guy. They're going to turn around and stab him in the back. Ugh, that's gonna hurt, man. Anyway, okay, and the next question is Kotaro's heroism, which, he was going to murder Aoi until he decided not to because she probably has the Kingstone around her neck. And he was beating up that homeless guy, that homeless Kaijin, and just he's kind of a messed up guy. Anyway, is his heroism partly evidenced and represented by his refusal to eat Heat Heaven? And does he start refusing to eat Heat Heaven when he finds out that it is in fact made of people, or made with part of people? Because he should. I mean, you would think so. That's the morally correct thing to do. Yeah, if you've got another sentient being, I don't think it's appropriate to be eating them. Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate to be eating them unless, you're the Donner Party or whatever. So anyway, moving on from that, how long has Gorgom known that Heat Heaven is made with human flesh? Because Dara-Om, or I guess is it Bara-Om? Is the little guy? Anyway, whatever. He was very excited to bring Heat Heaven in, and they were sharing it around with people, and they sure liked it. And I get the people in modern day, maybe they don't know. Well, maybe nobody knows. I don't know who knows, but I feel like there's a very powerful, I said hierarchies aren't bad necessarily, but they are when they're not transparent. There might be a very powerful hierarchy, a cabal, if you will, at the top of, maybe the priesthood of Gorgom, with the prime minister's office, are coordinating things and manipulating the rest of the people, and by people I do mean fellow Kaijin, to go along with bad things in order to use them, manipulate them, control them, whatever. And yeah, I suspect that's what's going on, but mostly because I'm very anti-government and anti people in power. So I'm automatically skeptical of those people, but we get to see that well on display. We have very good reason to be skeptical of these people from what we've seen in the show so far, and we're only 2 episodes in. All right, so next thing, where are the Kingstones really? How do they work? Where do they come from? I kind of think I asked these questions last time, but they're still very relevant questions, and they need to be asked and answered. I rest my case. No, I don't actually. I have one more thing to say. Oh yeah. Here we go. It's actually, this is my big closing spiel on story. Well, anyway, what unites us is my question I want to ask. I'm going to say we're all part of a bigger story, whatever that. Well, I am confident in what I believe that bigger story is, and you may not be, but there's different definitions to it. But we all hurt. We all need someone to reach out to us. We all need to be able to reach out to others. We all need to be able to make connections and have somebody to interact with and be with in order to be, I don't know, real people, to be really who we are. And the reason I say that is because last time I asked what divides us, and I talked about some of the hate from some of the anti-Kaijin hate and things like that. But so kind of jumping off of that, I want to say what unites us is that we are all part of a bigger story, and that's for good and for ill. I believe there is a destiny to the world that we are going towards. I believe I'm taking part in moving that destiny forward, and I pray that I'm successful in helping to make the world a better place in as part of bringing that destiny about. That's what I'm trying for, and I'm going to be open about that. And anyway, I think... Ooh, gotta slow down. It's raining, man. Anyway, I think that we also are all part of a bigger story in a negative way, which is that there are people in power who I believe, for whatever reasons, probably because, like Lord Acton said, power corrupts, and I believe the systems and institutions that we have for governance in at least the United States, and if not, most of the rest of the, so to speak, or so-called civilized world, are designed so that the people who have the most to be desired as far as having good moral character and being wonderful, loving human beings are the ones who are able to seize the most power for themselves. Kind of like what Dounami was talking about. Where there are people and where there's money, there is influence and power. And he's seized that influence and that power for himself, and he's manipulating Gorgom with that, or cooperating with them for that. And it's bad. They're doing very evil, morally reprehensible things, and it wouldn't shock me to know that in some ways, the people who think they're in power above us, you and me, the little guy, are willing to do parallel deals. Of course, not to make heat heaven and such, but, basically the same kind of thing. Divide and conquer people and cause them to see each other, the common folk, as an enemy, as evil, as something to be afraid of and destroyed and, hated. And meanwhile, they just give you, who's sitting atop of it all, more and more power, so you can perpetuate more and more power and money and wealth and influence to yourself, so that you can, just be a parasitic predatory class over the rest of us. And I think we all are part of that story, but you don't have to be a victim in that. Everybody's kind of reacting to that bigger story that I'm talking about. Nobuhiko wants to destroy it. It looks like he wants to kill Creation King so that Kaijin will eventually die out, possibly because of what the Gorgom Party did to him in the past, and maybe what they did to Yukari, I think is her name. Minami Kotaro has turned his back on all of it and just wants nothing to do with the conflict at all. And Aoi is trying to petition, both sides, humans and Kaijin, to come together and make peace with each other, which they could do. Individuals have proven that humans and Kaijin can live in peace with each other, like her and Shinosuke and his family, and I think her mother and father are friendly, they're Kaijin sympathizers, and they would have a relationship with them. So on an individual level, that's what it is. And really, if you look at the posters and things like that in 1972, posters and banners are saying to take power away from the government organizations that are oppressing Kaijin. So yeah, while there's people like Igaki and the other protesters with him who are petitioning, they're petitioning for the government to take rights away from Kaijin, and they're petitioning to, as a societal norm, whether that's legal or cultural is kind of hard to define. They want to have kaiju seen as less than. I think they want to have them be able to murder them and stuff though too, which is not okay, obviously, and that shouldn't be. There should be protection for them under the law. But yeah, culturally, you can still have people turn a blind eye to it, which would not be good. But anyway, it's just like I said, there's something bigger going on here. That people don't really get to see all sides of, because they're just living their day-to-day lives. And you can either be co-opted by the powers that, how do people say it? The powers that wish they were. You can either be co-opted by that and become a cog in their machine to affect them getting more control, or you can find a way to take a stand against that. And you can choose violent uprising if you want, but there's also ideas of peaceful insurrection that you can adopt that, I think would be better. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I went on way too much of a tangent, so I'm going to wrap it up and just say I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. I find it really interesting. It's philosophical. It's kind of deep. It presents really interesting issues, and the context that it puts Kamen Rider Black into, by morphing it into this Kamen Rider, by transforming the story into this story of Kamen Rider Black Sun, is really interesting to me. I really do dig what they're doing with it, what they're trying to say with it, and I like how different it is, and yet how it's working off of the same outline or story treatment, and then just taking it in a different direction and under a different authorship, and I think that's really cool. I'm really pleased with what they're doing. The Kamen Rider reaction, there could be a little bit more of it, but it's intense and kind of crazy, so I do appreciate what we are getting, so I'm not going to complain about that. And I'm really intrigued to see what happens in the future, to see all the revelations happen. I want to see, you know, Minami, Kotaro, or I guess Kotaro and Nobuhiko get their, you know, rider suits, whether that's because they get Kingstones or because they, you know, eat a bunch of Heat Heaven, or, you know, they eat a chunk of Creation King, or who knows how they're going to get them. But I'm really curious to see how that happens and what happens with Aoi, and just, I'm super intrigued by the whole story. So, and I really hope, like, the story ends with a more peaceful world. But the Kamen Rider Black manga did not end with a nice, happy resolution, and the original Kamen Rider manga is basically like, yeah, we're always going to have to fight Shocker. They're never really going to go away. This is man's eternal struggle, which I agree, it is. Man does have an eternal struggle, and a woman too, to conquer ourselves and to do what's right even when it's difficult. And I think that's part of what the spirit of Kamen Rider is. Anyway, so for my story over everything segment, I do have a lesson learned from Kamen Rider Black Sun episode 2, and it's this. I don't remember how recently I talked about invisible questions or what show it was in response to, but Black Sun is full of them. I think the story spanning decades is a brilliant move because the events of each period affect each other and raise questions in the audience's minds. I heard about starting a story with an invisible question from Shane Miller on Joanna Penn's Creative Pen podcast, and it's called something like Writing Beginnings with Shane Miller. You can check it out. I will try heartily to put a link in the description for the episode that was on, because it was really interesting. And I'll try to remember to put that both in the Black Sun episode and in the Story Over Everything episode 7 that this is going to be a part of. So yeah, that's it for this segment. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not it. I need to amend this. So, to put it in a short, quick way, it would be this. Pack your story with invisible questions so you have more threads to pull on throughout the story. Telling a story over 2 time periods nearly does this by default, which, if that's what you want, if you want to hook people in, get their attention, keep their attention, then I think that's a great way to go about it. Alright, so that is officially the end of my Kamen Rider Black Sun episode 2 review. So I'll go ahead and stop, and I'll encourage you to check out mjmunoz.com for all my stuff. And yeah, look forward to, over the next 2 months or so, me getting out the rest of these Kamen Rider Black Sun episodes. And I'm going to try to coordinate it. Well, anyway, I'll let you know any updates that are happening with that. The Growbug book, I'm going to have some more time to work on that this week, so that'll be good. And I'm excited. I'm almost all done with Growbug Book 1, all the illustrations for it. And like I said, you can check out Story Over Everything, which is also hosted here on mjmunoz.com, in order to find out the status of my book, which is a Tokusatsu inspired children's picture book. Specifically, Growbug Book 1 is going to be inspired by Godzilla, and then in order to outdo myself, Growbug Book 2 will be inspired from a different Tokusatsu property. I'll just put it that way. And yeah, you can look forward to that stuff. Eventually, I will work in Kamen Rider there because I love Kamen Rider so much. So anyway, if you like the way I discuss these things, then I'm sure that you're going to enjoy the books that I make inspired by them. So anyway, that's it. This is MJ. I am sorry. I'm signing out, and I leave you with peace and blessings. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, you can find more at mjmunoz.com, as well as my entire library of analysis, art, and fiction.